Hey.
Alright y'all, I'm coming at you from yet another new setup. It's the holiday setup. I hope everyone is enjoying their end of year festivities, whatever those may be. It is a bit echoey in this room, so I hope that the audio isn't completely butchered when I go to edit this. Anyway, for today's video, I want to take a look at someone who I haven't seen his name on the trade market much, which is a bit surprising to me because I've seen teammates of his be in trade rumors in the last couple of weeks or so. Plus, I've always just been a huge Collin Sexton fan, way back when he was, putting up numbers in the 5-on-3 game, when he was at Alabama, when he went and had that viral clip of him staring down that other opposing player at the free throw line back in high school. And with some injuries to the backcourt in Utah, he's been getting some more burn. He's been starting the last, I think it's like 6 games or so, and he's been putting up some really good numbers. So I want to take a look at what he's been up to and inform y'all, because Collin Sexton, if the Jazz are serious about dealing players at the trade deadline, your favorite team should want to trade for Collin Sexton. Because I think a lot of people forget that, before the Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell era in Cleveland, obviously we had Sexland, which was a huge hit on NBA Twitter. But even if we go back the year before that, before the rise of Darius Garland, before he took over as the lead guard in Cleveland, Collin Sexton was a really, really good young prospect. In just his 3rd season back in 2021, he averaged 24, 4, and 3 on 47, 37, 81 shooting splits. And again, for a 3rd-year guard, those are insane numbers. Then unfortunately, 2022, he got off to a bit of a slower start, was averaging 16 points across 11 games. Then I believe he tore his ACL, but he had some sort of major injury that caused him to miss the rest of the season. He then got traded to Utah, was relegated to the bench, worked his way back, and it's been pretty quiet up until these past couple weeks. But again, with those backcourt injuries for the Jazz, he's been the starter for the past 6 games. If you look at his last 7 games, he's back to averaging what he was averaging in that great 2021 season. He's up to 24 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds on 48, 38, 90 shooting splits. I mean, I think it's fair to say that he is playing just as well, if not even better than he was during that career year. So I went back and watched a recent game when the Utah Jazz played the New York Knicks. Sexton had a great night, 27 points, 7 assists, was just making plays all throughout the entire game, and I just saw a lot of the same old things that originally made me fall in love with Collin Sexton as a player. For starters, the thing that easily stands out the most when watching Sexton play basketball is he always has the highest motor out of every single player on the court. I've always loved the Young Bull nickname, and he got it for good reason, because his aggressiveness is always on 100, he's always pushing the pace. He's always been really strong, even though he's a bit undersized at the guard position. He's got great athleticism, he can hit a very nice top speed, great in transition, and again, just great at getting to the rim and getting that rim pressure. And the rim pressure was evident in this game. Obviously, he had some really nice and just simple drives, whereas he also had some really tough drives where it did not look like the defense is going to give him a lane to the rim, but he just kept on chugging and eventually found a path, carved his own path, and got some really nice layups. He even had some really nice off-ball cuts. I don't really want to call them cuts, but he's just able to create space when he has opposing guards on him and he's in the paint. He's able to create passing lanes for his teammates to find him under the hoop. He had a couple of really nice, just catch and lays in this game. And going back to that high motor, he probably had the most clutch, biggest play of the entire game for the Utah Jazz, where it was late in the game, the Jazz were doing everything in their power to blow this lead. I think Markkanen maybe put up a shot. I forgot who shot it, but it was a missed shot. Sexton rises up like 1-on-3 in the paint, gets the rebound, and gets a really tough and one putback. And I think that's just the perfect play that encapsulates the kind of player that Collin Sexton is. He's always going to give you 150% on every sort of play possible. He might not be, the best player ever. He might not be the most talented player ever, but he works his ass off every single time down the court. Plus, rim pressure isn't the only way that he is able to score the ball. He can also pull up from the mid-range. He had some catch-and-shoot threes in this game. And even though the three-point shooting numbers are at a career low this year, he's sitting right around 35%, whereas Throughout his career, he's been closer to like 37, 38%. I think he'll figure it out at some point. He's still someone that you have to respect beyond the three-point line. He's right around league average. What does slightly worry me about his offensive game, though, is, and I really don't mean this as disrespect, he's just not the greatest passer or playmaker that the league has ever seen. He's perfectly capable of going out and getting you, 6, 7, 8 assists, as he did it in this game. He's done it on plenty of games in the past, but he's never really making great playmaking plays. It's a lot of just, him using his scoring gravity to then create open passing lanes to teammates. And it's great that he's able to make those passes. That shows that he is an unselfish player looking for the best shot possible for his team. But at the same time, I just don't think you can hand like lead guard responsibilities, point guard type responsibilities to Collin Sexton and expect him to be the best player possible. To further explain that, in this game against the Knicks, he had a couple of really nice pick and roll drives where he went to the rim, he drew the big man out from underneath the rim, and that allowed him to hit the rolling big man for a nice little dump off assist. And he's also capable of making driving kicks, and they're not always going to be assists for him in his case, but again, there's willingness that he can drive to the rim, attract the defense to him, and then kick out to his teammates. But when it comes to making skip passes or any sort of advanced reads out of pick and rolls, that's just not something that you see a lot from Collin Sexton. Again, I don't want to make it sound like this is a negative. It's not a bad thing. It just, again, goes to the point that he is not really a point guard at heart. He's more of a two guard, someone that is looking to score first and then pass second. And when it comes to the defense, again, it's kind of similar to the playmaking. He doesn't really, jump off the screen at you by making crazy defensive play after crazy defensive play. But again, I'll go back to the fact that he just has an insanely high motor. He is one of the most competitive guys on the court, and he uses those, mindsets to then make him at least an above average solid defender, especially on ball. He's got really quick feet. He uses that quickness and agility to stay in front of his opponent. Off-ball defense, I think there's some meat left on the bone there too, especially with Utah. They've been playing a whole bunch of zone and just kind of gimmicky defenses this year where they're not really manned up, but they're playing more of, just a zoned area. And at least in this one game, Sexton was just losing his guys sometimes. He didn't really box out much, which against guys like Dante DiVincenzo, it stood out in this game because DiVincenzo had a few offensive rebounds where Sexton easily could just box him out and just not let it happen, but he didn't. But at the end of the day, his defense it's not bad enough that it worries me, again, that he's a bad player on that end of the court. I think he's a perfectly fine defender. It's just, again, I wouldn't expect him to lock down opposing teams' best players every given night. So yeah, I personally would love to see some more love around the league for Collin Sexton. I feel like a lot of people were fans of his when he was in Cleveland, again with the Sexland backcourt. It was getting a lot of media attention, but then he got hurt, got shipped off to Utah while he was hurt, and we just haven't really heard a lot about him since. But with the fact that, Jordan Clarkson and even Lauri Markkanen are getting some rumors about them in the trade rumor mill, whatever you want to call it, especially with the season that Jordan Clarkson is having, because he is currently hurt. And I don't know if you've looked at his numbers, but they are not as good as they have been in recent years. I've seen some people on Twitter saying that, stay away from Jordan Clarkson. I don't want my favorite team to trade for them. And I agree. Your favorite team should be trading for a different Utah Jazz guard, and that is Collin Sexton. In these past couple weeks, again, he's proving that he can be that same 24 point per game scorer that he was back in 2021. While he's also shown this season that he's perfectly fine playing in a smaller role off the bench, being that scorer off the bench that can provide a spark to your offense. And with there being just so many different kinds of assets on this Utah Jazz roster, again, I just don't think it would take a lot to get Collin Sexton off their hands. Maybe it would though, I don't know. I'm not an NBA GM or know anything that's going on behind those closed doors. Either way, it's been really fun to see Collin Sexton back and balling like he used to, He's a really fun player to watch, again, just because of that high motor, and I'm not even really doing it justice by just talking about it. It's one of those things where you kind of just have to see it for yourself and you'll understand. But yeah, if your favorite team is out there trying to contend for an NBA championship and they need an offensive-minded guard, either for the starting lineup or the bench, I'd highly suggest Collin Sexton. That's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.